It is not a NESA task, but instead of a test for this topic, we are giving you an assignment. Now, we realise that it is due the Thursday the 4th of July. Two things about that. A, we don't have maths on that day, so it's not a NESA task, but we're just going to ask you to put it in the assignment box as a way for you to get it to us. So no test, but this assignment. And you've probably noticed that chapter 12 is fairly short, so we are going to be giving you, there's only those 3-4 exercises in chapter 12, the rest of the class time is going to be working on this. So from my perspective, if you work efficiently in class, you shouldn't need to be doing very much more of this out of class time. So it's not a big stress that we're putting on you. I've had both parents and students, because we've done different versions of this, we've changed it a little bit with the new syllabus, but we've done different versions of this over the last several years. Thank you, Josh, is it sorted? Grab one of these assignments from the pile there. Both parents and students have found this to be a very useful and practical assignment. So you're going to be getting a whole lot of information together for how to go about purchasing and running a car. And one of the things that some students find quite enlightening about this is how expensive it is not only to purchase a car, but to run a car. Now, one of the things that has changed in the new syllabus is they're asking you to do some comparison, which means you need information about 3 different cars. In order to make this assignment practical and also realistic, we're actually only going to ask each of you to do the research about one car, but what you need to do is get together with 3 other people. So, and we're not going to say it has to be in my class, so long as they're in either of these classes, because you don't actually physically have to do it together except for one thing I'll tell you about, which is petrol price. But you just need to have, so my suggestion is, because this is where some of it fell apart last year, choose 2 other people to work with that you think are reliable. So, for example, we'll have Josh and Travis and Jacob. They'll each do a car. You'll share your information, so the comparison, Travis will be comparing his car plus Jacob's car and Josh's car. Alright, so let me read through what you have to do and then I'll explain a bit more. If you want to ask some questions as we go through, that's fine to clarify. So you need to imagine that you've got a maximum budget of $30,000 to purchase a car for yourself. Now you don't have to spend that, but listen to the next bit. So this car will be for you to use while you're at school. You and your 2 other group members are to compare the purchase costs and the annual running costs for 3 different vehicles. Now, this is the thing you do need to sort out with your group. Your 3 cars need to be a mixture of new and used. So at least one person in the group needs to choose a new car, which means you'll probably need to spend $20,000 to $30,000 of your imaginary amount of money. If you're one of the ones that's getting a used car, Josh said he found one the other day for $3,000, that would be fine. Except Josh was telling us that he saw it on the Morisset strip. I suggest you go to carsales.com so you get the information that you need, and I'll show you that in a minute. You also need to have a variety of types. So hatchback, SUV, sedan, 4-wheel drive, hybrid. So make sure amongst your 3 people in your group that you've got at least 1 new and 1 used, and then you're each doing a different type of car. So you can't all choose a different year model of a Ford Ranger, even if all of you think that's the ant's pants. Reese has already decided that's the car he's going to get when he gets a car. That's a few years away. He might have changed his mind by then. So you only need to research 1 car and do the calculations on your car, and we will be marking your calculations. But in your conclusion, you will have the information from the others, not their calculations, and you've got to show us your comparison. So make sure you're organised enough to get the information from your spreadsheet to the other people in your group in a timely manner, which means before the night before. So, section 1 is buying a car. So you need to choose your 3 different vehicles and then assign who is researching what. And you need to take a screenshot of your car and what you're buying. So, carsales.com, good place to start, so you can take that screenshot there. You need to include a photo of the car, its price, and any technical details. Now, if you notice here on carsales.com, there's overview, there's features, and there's specs. And the thing that you're going to want in specs is down here in fuel. This is the magic number that you need for your fuel consumption. Now, you'll notice that this one has got 2 different values for fuel consumption. One is for extra urban and one is for urban. So those of you that know anything about cars, if you're doing a lot of driving in the city, there's a lot of stop-starts, and that actually uses up more fuel. If you're getting in your car and you're driving from here to Port Macquarie to go away for the weekend, you're sitting on 110 cruising, you're not doing lots of accelerating and stopping, your fuel economy will be a lot better. We're not totally stressed which number you choose. Some cars will only have 1 number, some cars will split them into 2. So long as you've got the screenshot to show us this is the number that you used for your calculations, that will be fine. Now, the other thing that we are looking for is where did you get your numbers from? So show us your screenshot and then just underneath put your website address. That's the only thing that we're looking for in terms of referencing for this assignment. So open yourself up a Word document, go through section 1, buying a car, paste in your screenshot, paste in your web address, then do your calculations, etc. Okay, part B, state what appeals to you about the car and why you chose that vehicle. And that can be as simple as, I like black cars and I wanted a new car, or I needed a car that had I wanted to be able to drive fast on the roads that I can, or I like bubble cars. My grandpa's always driven a Ford, so I believe they're the best car. We don't mind, just give us a reason. Then you need to list the technical specifications that you'll need for registration and insurance. So those technical specs that you will need, and I'll show you why you need them again. You'll need to know the size of your car, your engine size. So when you come to registration, it'll probably say is it a 4-cylinder or a 2-cylinder. You'll need your fuel consumption. And are there any extra accessories? Because when it comes to insurance, if the car that you're purchasing has got a lot of expensive extras, then you'll have to pay extra insurance. So you need to create a spreadsheet in Excel to compare the costs of purchasing and running your vehicle for a year. So you need a Word document to show your working and screenshots in addition to your comparison spreadsheet. Now we do have a template spreadsheet. Is it up on Landscape yet?
No, but it'll be up there today.
So it'll be on your Landscape page so that you can just open up that spreadsheet and that will give you can use your own, but probably using ours would be a good step. So there's 2 different things you need to think about. If you listen to ads on TV, and there's heaps of them at the moment for end of financial year for cars, it talks about, it'll give you a price on road. What that means is, might say that the car is going to cost you $25,000, but then you also have to pay stamp duty, registration, and you can't register your car unless you've at least got compulsory third-party insurance. So at the moment, when there's sales on, for example, when I bought my new car at the start of last year, they paid for the first 12 months registration as part of the deal because they were having a sale at the time. I want you to assume whatever the price is, just take it that price, but there are some extra costs before you can actually drive your car that's part of the purchasing costs. However, each year you have to pay insurance. Each year you have to pay registration. So it's going to feel a little bit like a double up, but we want those costs in both spreadsheets. So it is a running cost as well as a purchasing cost. So when you do the running costs, I want you to assume that it's the running costs for the second year that you've got your car. All right, so you will have to pay your registration, you'll have to pay your insurance, but just if you're adding the 2 together, you don't want to pay, you're not paying registration twice. So it's your second year, but in your purchasing costs, before you can drive away your car, you're going to have to pay stamp duty, registration, and at least compulsory third-party insurance. Then, Part 2A, you need to calculate a 30% deposit. So you're assuming you've got up to $30,000, you're going to pay a 30% deposit. Then you're going to use an online calculator for personal loans and calculate what the monthly repayments will be for a 5-year loan for a remainder of the purchase price. So we don't mind which bank website you go to. I think NAB's got a decent one. So what you're looking for is calculators. Here we are, calculators and tools. That's home borrowing. Oh, see more calculators and tools, that's what I want. Everyday money. Car loan repayment, that will be fine. So car loan or personal loan depends on the bank. No, that's not a calculator.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Did I miss it?
Yeah.
It's the very top, and you go to do the flash play.
Oh. Alright, I won't bother. Well, I'll come back to it. So when you put that in, so let's say you've calculated your deposit, so the car's going to cost you $15,000, you take off your deposit, so you're actually going to need a loan for $12,000, for example. I'm just pulling numbers off the top of my head. So you put it in, so I want a loan for $12,000 and I'm going to take 5 years to pay it off, and the calculator will pop up and say you need to pay $325 per month, and then just take a screenshot. That's what your repayments will be. Then you need to go to Service New South Wales. And you want motor vehicle stamp duty.
There was a stamp duty calculator on the other one.
Yeah, but I think that was a land one, because houses also have to do it. Okay, so this is what you want from the Service New South Wales Motor Vehicle Registration Duty Calculator. So is it for a passenger vehicle? So let's say the purchase price was $12,500, calculate, and it will tell you that the stamp duty payable is $375. So that's all you'll need to do for that one with a screenshot. Then you need to get a quote for third-party compulsory, so CTP stands for third-party insurance, and that's green slip. Now, Mrs. Higgins, have you already done insurance? Yeah, my class hasn't yet. So there's two types of insurance that you need. You're not allowed to get your car on the road unless you've got third-party insurance. That means if you hit someone else and injure the person or the car, insurance will cover the damage to the person or the car that you hit. So you're not allowed on the road unless you have that. Then it's up to you what other levels of personal insurance you want to cover damage to yourself and your car. So you may choose just to have third-party fire and theft, which means it covers you if you damage someone else's car. So if you're driving a $2,000 bomb, if you smash it, you go, you know what, it's not worth me paying insurance because I'll just buy myself a new car. But if you smash someone else's Lamborghini, you don't want the bill for fixing their Lamborghini. So that's what third party will cover. Comprehensive insurance means it will cover everything for you. You'll be interested when you actually look at the quotes, particularly for you guys, because you are under 25. Your insurance premiums are a lot higher than for Mrs. Higgins and I, because we are more experienced drivers. So go through and get a quote. If you need to, just say that you are 18. You can put in a fake address. You don't actually need to get them to email something. You should be able to. So we could do CTP here. I want to get a quote. You can say, yes, it's currently registered. No, not a motorcycle. You don't want to provide your rego details. I don't want to provide this information. So what year was it manufactured? So let's say this was a 2015 car. What type of car are we doing? A sedan. Where's it going to be garaged? Because where you live, so it won't be for a business, actually makes, so what year are you guys born in?
2003.
2003, so 12th of the 4th.
How do you get 42? How do you get 42nd month?
Good question. Now what's it done? 12th of the 4th.
What's 0 for?
You do 0
Oh, yeah, 0. There we go. Now, what else haven't I done? Not happy about something. Intended vehicle usage is private. That's what I missed. Okay, what sort of car are we going to have? A Mazda.
Oh, what?
Mazda 2. So it's going to be a manual and a hatchback. So you can see why I said you needed your specs off carsales.com, because you need that sort of information. So yeah, it's that one there. None of us have had an accident. None of us have had any license. And 0 demerit have been lost. Date of birth of the youngest. So what did we decide that was? 12. 04. So you've had your license for 1 year. We want comprehensive. And you're going to be driving roughly 15. No motor accidents. Okay, so there's your quote summary, which you'll need to take your screenshot of. It's going to cost you $456 a year to insure that car. So you can see it's not necessarily difficult, but we're actually wanting to give you practice in using all these websites that you would need to use. So then use your spreadsheet to calculate the total purchase cost for your car, and then get the total purchase cost for the 2 other cars from your group members. Then section 2 is running your car. In the last 3 months, now I don't know if we actually updated this from last year, but it's fine. Price of fuel has fluctuated between $1.40 and $1.55. Take a photo of a Bowser at a petrol station showing the current fuel price and share this with the other members of your group. So my suggestion is choose someone in your group this weekend to take a photo of the petrol station that says at the moment fuel is $1.39, whatever it is. And then that photo, share it to the 3 people in your group so you're all using the same fuel price. Part B. Shh, just keep the noise down because we're videoing, please. The average car owner travels 20,000 kilometres a year, so using the fuel consumption, so remember that was the figure that you would have got off car sales. If it isn't on car sales, you can just Google to find the fuel consumption of your model. Calculate the average cost per year for fuel for your car. So with the fuel price that you took the photo of, assuming you're driving 20,000 kilometres in a year, how much is it going to cost you to put fuel in your car? Then you need to insure your car, and you need a quote for both third-party property and comprehensive from your insurance website, and then you need to explain which is best for the car you've chosen and use that number in your spreadsheet. So if you're buying a brand new Hyundai i30, you're probably going to want comprehensive insurance. If you're buying a cheap $2,000 bomb, you probably don't want comprehensive, but you've got to do the insurance for both and give us a reason. Make sure you state that you're an under 25 driver and any optional extras that you include in the quote. So some insurance companies say if you pay a little bit extra, we'll reduce the premium. We'll reduce the excess. So remember, excess is how much you have to pay before they start paying. Some of them will give you a free windscreen if you pay a little bit extra. So if you've chosen any of those options, make sure you include those in your screenshot. And there's a wide variety of insurance costs, so it doesn't matter who you get from it. In real life, we're only asking you to get one quote for each type, but in real life our suggestion is that you do shop around. There are some websites that say compare insurance, but it's probably easier just to go directly to one of the big four. So Allianz, GIO, NRMA, AAMI or UE, any of those, go straight to their website and get a quote. Then you need to get a quote for servicing your chosen car. Take a screenshot of the results. Now we found last year that this section was a little bit harder to get information on. So long as you've got some information, don't spend a lot of time looking for it. But if you go to, what's the cars? Tune Up, and there's another one, Lubemobile. A few of those websites, they should be able to give you. Some of them want a whole lot of details, but so long as you get a rough price of how much it's going to cost to service your car, and you should be able to find out whether your car should be serviced once or twice a year. So assuming that you're driving 20,000 kilometres, if it says that you need to get a car serviced every 15,000 kilometres, you need to do it twice in a year. Find out how often tyres need replacing and calculate a pro rata amount per year for these costs. So, if you need to replace tyres every 40,000 kilometres, you're only going to need to put new tyres on your car every 2 years. So if it would cost you $500 to put new tyres on the car, for 1 year that would only be $250. So you just pro rata it for what fraction of the year it is. So then use the spreadsheet to total up your running costs, including your annual registration and your green slip, to give you your running costs for the year. Section 3 is your insurance claim. So assume that after you've had your chosen insurance, you're in a car accident and it's your fault and it caused $2,000 worth of damage to your car. So you need to calculate the cost to repair your car. You're using the insurance cover you selected. So if you had comprehensive cover, and let's say your excess was $600, that means you have to pay $600 and the insurance company would pay the rest, which would be $1,400. If you'd chosen that your car wasn't worth much, so you were only going to have third party, then you would have to pay the full $2,000, depending on what your car insurance was. You might say, well, I had to pay $600 excess, plus I've had to pay, what was that quote, $450? Maybe it's not worth me having insurance. But this is just a question to get you looking at a particular scenario and working out what your cover would be. Now, some insurance companies, for me, I might have a $600 excess. For you guys, it might be an $800 or $900 excess because you're younger drivers. The reason for that? Statistics show that you guys have more accidents than my age group. Then section 4 is your conclusion. So then you need to compare your 3 cars, write a brief conclusion about which car is cheaper to run, which car is most sustainable. So you may have a car that's cheap to buy, but expensive to run because it's a fuel guzzler. And in terms of sustainability, that's also not a good thing. I had a friend post on Facebook a couple of months ago. She and her partner had just bought one of those new hybrid cars. And she's particularly passionate about the environment. So she'd done the calculations, and yes, that car initially cost them more money, but she just posted up, how much they were going to save the environment in fuel and everything over the course of the next 4 years. So that's some of the things you can just think about and add in your statement there about sustainability. B, write a brief discussion about the costs associated with purchasing and running a car and the affordability for a high school student. So think about how much does it cost to purchase the car, how much does it cost to keep it running, how much money does the average high school student have, is that actually affordable for you, and is it a viable option? Does anyone need to remind us what the word viable means?
Yeah. What's that?
Is it practical? If it's going to cost you
No, I'm stupid.
100, no, you're not stupid. It's just that you hadn't that, but you're now more educated because you've now learnt a new word for today. So, is $100 a week something that you can actually manage? Because overall, by the time you add up all your costs, that might be what it is. I'm just pulling a number out of the air. And then here's a word that's really important in terms of your verbs. Justify your conclusions for part C. So make a choice about which of those 3 cars is going to be the best one for you, but I want some reasons. And these reasons have to be more than, well, I actually want the $30,000 car because that hot pink colour is just my favourite. In this one, we need you to be thinking about the maths. What was its fuel economy, the sustainability, the overall costs. So do remember, it is a maths assignment, so we will be expecting that you'll have calculations shown, and so long as you show us your screenshots and your web addresses, we want that for your research findings. Now, you guys probably need less reminder than my Year 8s did earlier this week when I marked one of their science assignments. I waved this in front of them and said most of you got 12 to 14 out of 25, and you could have got 25 if you just read what was here. So you may not need the reminder, but I'm just suggesting go through this before you hand your assignment in and say, have I done this, have I done this, have I done this? And then, if you do that, getting a mark of 30 out of 35 should be doable for all of you. So this is your opportunity, particularly for those of you who find tests a bit more stressful, to do well. All right, I've talked. Are there any other questions that you want clarified about this assignment? Yes.
So, can someone be in more than one group? Because can a particular car be used? It might be a particular unusual type. Can that be used in more than one group for comparisons?
I think for fairness, we should say the answer to that is no. Because if we say yes to that, then we have the potential that one person's going to have done a whole bunch of calculations and it gets shared around. So does that seem fair if we say that you can share your work with one other person but not a whole bunch?
Given the numbers, with groups of 3, there's going to have to be 1 or 2 groups that will have to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, if that is the case, just negotiate with us.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think it's fairest if most of you aren't sharing. But yes, I hadn't thought about that. So a couple of double ups will be fine. But on the whole, you're each doing 1 car, and you're choosing 2 other people to share that information with. So getting your groups sorted, and we'll just give you 5 minutes now. I know that there's the other kids not here, but if you want to say, well, okay, I'm going to work with those 2 and put it down. We're not going to lock you down now to who you're working with, but what I am saying is, if you get your groups sorted, so you've got your fuel price sorted with your photos so that you're all working on the same number. Because if Kate does her calculations for fuel consumption and how much it's going to cost to run a car on $1.49, and then she shares information with Michaela, and for her car, Michaela got a photo and said that fuel was $1.41, then those results aren't comparable. Okay, so that's why it's important that in your group you have the same fuel price. All right, that's probably a spot to end the video.